give an introduction now. Welcome to the continuing series of pre-Yom Tov Shiurim given by Talmidei Chachamim in Eretz Yisrael for the rabbis of the RCA. This is being recorded by for the RCA Rabbanim of the United States, and it's a pleasure to have Rav Fendel here to give the shiur. Rav Fendel is a native of West Hempstead, New York, where his parents, Rabbi Meyer and Goldie Fendel, were the founders of HANK, Hebrew Academy of Nassau County, in the early 1950s. He received his smicha from Yeshivat Shalavim. Together with his wife Mechi, he began the Yeshivat Hesder of Sderot in 1996 with a handful of students. Today he serves as its Rosh HaYeshiva, and its student body today numbers nearly 500 Talmidim. The yeshiva has two other branches, one in Sderot, which numbers close to 200, and another in Kiryat Gat with 150, besides the main yeshiva of 500 in Sderot. Rav Fendel also opened a girls program 3 years ago in Sderot for post-high school women. The yeshiva runs multiple community programs that significantly contribute to the morale of Sderot citizens who are on the front lines of Israel's war-torn Western Front, as well as their social welfare, security, spiritual, and Jewish cultural needs. It's a pleasure to have Rav Fendel give a shiur to us today, pre-Shavuot, and also moments before the onset of Yom Yerushalayim. Rav Fendel, please.
Thank you very much. B'shus Avi Mori. B'shus Rabbi Reuven, Shkoyach, on all your organization. Rav Daniel, our discussion today is inviting secular Jews for a night of learning, Shavuos night. It seems like a great idea. Obviously, it's a beautiful way of being mekarev, but we enter three halachic discussions which could really make a big difference in our whole attitude to kiruv and our whole attitude to secular Jews today. First question is, are you supposed to be teaching Torah to people that have no intention of observing the Torah? We know that you're not supposed to learn Shalol Lishma. Chazal have a lot of severe things to say about people that learn for ulterior motives. On the other hand, they say it's always good to learn Shalol Lishma because it's going to bring you to Lishma. So the Mefarshim basically say that it depends why the person's learning. If he's learning to cause trouble, lekanter, then it's a terrible thing. Better that he doesn't learn. His Torah is not at all. If he's learning for kavod or for other monetary or benefits, that's okay. Mitoch shalol lishma bal lishma. But if he's learning not to keep it, just as an intellectual pursuit, then the Rambam seems to say that that's okay. You're allowed to teach a person Torah like that. The Rosh says that that's not the way we learn Torah. We learn Torah only if it could bring to Kedusha. If a person is not planning to observe, then he's not supposed to be learning. More than that, it says that if a person is learning is meant to just as a just in order to broaden his horizons. So the Rosh seems to say that that also is asa. We're convinced, and all the Mefarshim say that what I meant to say is the following: the Mefarshim say that if the person himself is not a good person, and you're teaching Torah to someone that you know is a Talmid she'eino hagun, you're not supposed to be teaching Torah to someone like that either. So we have the Rosh's opinion that if he's learning stam, he shouldn't be learning, and we know that if he's a Talmid she'eino hagun, he shouldn't be learning. But we pass like the Rambam that says that you're allowed to teach even a person's learning stam. If he's not hagun, if he's not worthy, then you're not supposed to teach him. But we don't know who's worthy and who's not worthy. And we were convinced that if the idea is to be mekarev him, then not only is one allowed to teach him Torah, but it's obviously very important that our Shavuos nights should not be kept to ourselves. Very important that somehow we open up all the shiurim and make sure that there are other people that not the standard people that come to our Daf Yomi, come to the Shavuos night celebrations. The only problem to learning. The only problem is there are two other halachic problems. If you invite someone to come to the learning, and that means that he's going to be Mechal Shabbos, Mechal Shavuos, because he's going to drive. So that creates a Chilul Hashem that people drive. And that's the famous question that many discussed. Is it worth it? Is it worth it that you tell him to come when you know that you're basically overlooking and condoning and even encouraging, in a way, his Chilul Shabbos? That's one problem. The other problem is if he comes for a Yontif meal, and this may seem strange, but the Mishnah Berurah is very machmir. You're not allowed to, even according to the way the simple reading of the Mishnah Berurah, you're not allowed to invite a secular Jew to a Yontif meal, because you may end up cooking for him. And to cook for him may be, from the Mishnah Berurah, that's what it sounds like, to cook for Mechal Shabbos is either Nisa D'Oraisa or considered an Isa D'Rabbanan, that they considered a person that doesn't keep Shabbos like a guy for this din, that you're not allowed to cook for him on Yom Tov. So we have these two questions that at first, most of us are makel on these things, and it seems like we already came to conclusions. However, when we learn it carefully and we see how the poskim really relate to this, I think it opens up new windows and new ways of understanding the halachic the halachic attitude to a person that doesn't keep Shabbos and to our secular brethren. We'll start with the first question. Are you allowed to ask him to tell him to come, encourage him to come? And when you know that you're encouraging him to come to learn, you're really encouraging him to be Mechal Shabbos. So Rav Moshe Feinstein was very machmir, and he said that not only is it Isur D'Oraisa of Lifnei Iver, it's worse than that. He says if you're encouraging him to come, you're basically saying drive. That's mesit. That's almost like encouraging a person to do an avera, and that is much more chamer. He says not just by avodah zarah. To be mesit is considered an added avera, added on to the avera of lifnei iver lo titen michshal. It's very hard to say this is lifnei iver, and it's very hard to say that this is called mesit lidvar avera. I'm not telling him to come to drive, especially if I tell him not to drive, especially if he doesn't have to drive. To say it's lifnei iver when anyway he could take a car and drive other places, when it could be that by the fact that he's coming to be with me this Shavuos night, he won't drive elsewhere. So it could be I'm even by giving him this big avera, I'm saving him from hours of avera. What would be if someone's about to eat treif? That's treif d'oraisa, and I give him something that's, instead I change the food, I give him something that's only d'rabbanan. That's not lifnei iver. What would happen if Rabbi Kiva says that if someone is about to take a haircut with tar, with a razor blade, and it's Nisa D'Oraisa for him and for the barber, but if his mother gives him the haircut, so she won't be over the avera. So we're saving the barber an avera. Says Rabbi Kiva, there's no lifnei iver, even though she's giving him a bad haircut with tar, since she's lowering the Isur, that should not be lifnei iver. So here it's not exactly lowering the Isur, because the Isur is going to remain that he's driving on Shabbos, but we're saving, in the long run, we're making his Isur much less severe. Even if we say there's no lifnei iver, and it's very hard to say it's lifnei iver because it's not at the same time of when we suggested that he comes for Shavuos night, that's not when he's going to be over the avera. We're not giving him an avera. It's not like giving a cup of wine to a nazir And at the same time, it's we're not even talking about the Avera. We're telling him, we're telling him to come learn Shavuos night. It's very hard to say it's Lifnei Iver, but there's another Isa, and that's called Misayeya Lidvar Avera. Similar to Lifnei Iver, but even when there's no Lifnei Iver, we're not allowed to even help in any slight way. We can't be part of this Shabbos transgression. We can't be part of him driving on Shabbos. And a lot of people may come. If we invite a lot of secular Jews, we can't be part of this whole Shabbos desecration. And that's a new Isser called Lifnei Iver. But also on Shabbos writes that that's an Isser D'Rabbanan. This is another place in Chagiga, it doesn't seem to mention that there's an Isser. It's a machlokas between the two Tosfosim. The Rama says we're Mekel, but the Shach says no, it depends. If you're helping someone that's a Mumar, he's a Mechal Shabbos anyway. So there's no problem helping a Mechal Shabbos. The Dagel Mervava says if he's amazed, there's no problem. Basically, since he's already doing it, you're not going to stop anything by not helping him. So you're allowed to help him. So some suggested, and now this is where it gets confusing, that our secular brethren are Mumarim. Mumarim means the Mechal Shabbos B'Farhesya. So we don't have to relate to them like brothers that we don't want to help them with the Avera. And there's no Isser to help them to be Messiah Yedei Ovre Avera. And a lot of people rely on that. They say that they're anyway Mezidim, they're anyway Mumarim, so there's no problem of Messiah Yedei over Avera. So I was discussing it with someone, and it seems that we, religious Zionists, have to really try to figure out what is our real attitude, because we can't contradict ourselves, and it's very interesting when we check with a lot of different halachot. How do we relate to secular Jews? Do we treat them like brothers in the halacha? Or do we say, anyway, they transgress everything, and since they transgress everything, we can absolve ourselves from our responsibility as real brethren for many different halachot. Let's learn the halachot, and we'll try to see, are we being consistent? Right now, we just said, wait a second, they don't keep Shabbos anyway. They're not really, they're Mezidim, they're Mumarim. There's no problem of Messiah Yedei Over Avera. Now let's check Hilchos Ribis. You're not allowed to take interest from your brothers. What about taking interest from a Mumar? So Shulchan Aruch says you're allowed to take interest from a Mumar. Would we be Mekel taking interest from a secular Jew? So Rabbi Avad Yosef writes in the Tshuva that yes, you can be Mekel. That's what it sounds like. You could be Mekel taking interest from a secular Jew. He said he's not your brother. It doesn't have the same dinim. What about shchita of a person that's Mechal Shabbos? What about Eidus? And here we know many tshuvas that sometimes we save mamzerim. We say, we look carefully at the who were the Eidim at the wedding, and if they weren't religious, if they were Mechal Shabbos B'Farhesya, then we say they weren't really married, and then we could save mamzerim. So when it comes to Hilchos Eidus, we have no problem saying that they're not Eidim Ksherim. Let's continue. Let's see. In the army, our guys have this question a lot. What happens when a secular Jew opens up a bottle of wine? So we know that if it's pasteurized, there are many kulot. But even if it's pasteurized, if it's a guy, we're not mekel. What about if it's pasteurized and it's a secular Jew, or if it's not pasteurized? Most poskim say that you should try very hard not to let a secular Jew, not to let a person that doesn't keep Shabbos open up the wine. You should open up the wine for yourself. So here all of a sudden we don't treat him like brothers. We know when it comes to the Isser of hating, of Lo Tishnah et Achicha, here everyone says, wait a second, he's our brother. You're not allowed to hate him. Everybody says that today. There are some that say it's his fault that he's Mechal Shabbos, and especially if he grew up in a from home or from atmosphere. But almost all the poskim say that he's our brother. When it says in the Torah, Lo Tishnah et Achicha, it's not his fault. He's a Tinok Shenishba. My father always shows me a Ramban in Parsha Shlach, that the Ramban speaks about a korban that all of Klal Yisrael will bring. One korban. It's a Shiur lechatat and a par le'olah. And the Ramban says there'll come a time that it could be a whole tzibur will forget why we should be religious. A whole tzibur will say that Torah isn't relevant for their generation. A whole tzibur, he said it happened in the time of Yeravam ben Nevat, will forget what it means, what Torah is all about. And when they come back, they're not going to be judged as Mezidim, they're going to be judged as people that were shogeg. So if we treat our brothers that are Mechal Shabbos Befaresya as shogegim, and we don't hate them, then how can we passel them feidos? How come we won't drink their wine? How come we say that there's it's okay to be Messiah Yedei over Avera? How come when it comes to the halachas of ribis, we have to see? What about the din of tochecha? Do we have to give real tochecha, real musar, and is our real responsibility to make sure that to stop them when they do an avera? So many poskim wrote that today we don't know how to do it, and they won't understand us, and therefore we can't say that we did the proper tochecha, and therefore we don't have the mitzvah, we don't have the we don't have any heter to chas v'shalom hate, or to consider them that they're not our they're not achicha. To really suggest something that I think makes a lot of sense, Rabbi Shawai said, when it comes to Hilchos Eidus, so there's no question. Hilchos Eidus is a question, is he a Rasha? Does he keep mitzvahs? Is he committed or not? So it's not his fault. We love him, we don't blame him, and we accept and we understand him and accept him, but he's not, he doesn't keep mitzvahs, he's not committed. And for Hilchot Eidut, he's not considered an Eid Kasher if he's not committed. When it comes to the Isser to all the mitzvahs ben Adam lechavero, of Nichum Avelim, of Bikur Cholim, anything that has to do with Achicha, so then for sure we consider a person that's Mechalel Shabbat Befaresya, we consider them today our brothers, that it's not their fault at all. When it comes to lending beribit, the heter that you're allowed to do a business deal with them, so Rav Ovadia seems to be a das yachid, because it seems that since we do consider them our brothers, then how can we be part of the Isser of Ribit? But when it comes, and this is where we have to make a distinction that I think makes a lot of sense. When it comes to being Misayeh Yedei Ovrei Avera, we have to figure out why is it usher to be Misayeh Yedei Ovrei Avera? What is the Isser based on? So there are 4 opinions in the Rishonim what the Isser of Misayeh Yedei Ovrei Avera is. Tosfos writes that the Isser is part of, we have a responsibility to stop him. If we have a responsibility to stop him, how could we help him? The Ritva says it's part of our arvus. Rashi says we don't want to get them used to doing averos. The Rambam writes that we can't be part of the Avera. If we altas yotchem Rasha liot eid Hamas, we can't be part of the Isa. According to the Rambam, it would seem that he is a Rasha. He's doing the wrong thing, so we can't be part of his Isa. But according to all the other Rishonim, this is really based on not letting him, our responsibility to give him Musar, our responsibility to stop him from doing the Avera, our responsibility of Tochecha. Since we said that the secular Jew right now, it's not his fault, and we're not going to succeed, and by not helping him do this Avera, we're not getting anywhere, and we're not, and it's not part of our, it's not going to, he has to take responsibility for his actions, and he's amazing. This is something that he's a mumar. He's doing it anyway. Us not helping him isn't going to stop him. Isn't part of our tochecha, and especially, and this is as far that all the poskim said, especially if by us not helping him, by us helping him do this little avera, this big avera, we're going to stop him from, we're going to hopefully be mekarev him and hopefully bring him to a whole new understanding, and we're going to bring him closer. So then there's no problem of helping him do this avera, if by helping him do this avera, we're going to be saving him from many other averot. I tell the story of the Sridei Eish, that before World War II, between World War I and World War II, the finance minister of Germany came on shul in Berlin to the shul of the Sridei Eish, and he drove with a car, finance minister, to say Yizkar, and they were Mekarevin. They let him come, and they asked the Sridei Eish, how did you invite him? How did you let him come? He said, if he honors his parents, soon he'll honor God. His great-grandson, after the Nazis, and became frum and gave a speech just recently. And he said that he's the great-grandson of this finance minister, this Jew from Germany, this assimilated Jew. Had that shul not been Mekarevim, had they not let him in, had they not accepted him, had they not introduced his father and understood where he is and how far he is, then he today wouldn't be here. He said, Chaim Ozer told his brother-in-law in Johannesburg, let the Kohanim, they should duchen, even though they're not from, even though they drove to shul on Shabbos, let them get aliyahs, because otherwise they'll forget that they're Jews, they'll forget that they're Kohanim. And this understanding is so simple and so important that we're not going to get stuck on the problem of being Messiah, Yedei over Avera, when we know what we're doing is helping them, the opposite, it's helping them to get closer, and it's bringing them closer, and it's, and at this point, they're not Mechalei Shabbos Varesya. They're coming, they're trying to learn. There's a very interesting Gemara, and this will start to sum up. Gemara in Eruvin, that the Gemara tells about an Amora that he met someone in the shuk on Shabbos, and the guy was in the middle of being Mechalel Shabbos, and he saw the Amora, and he tried to hide it, and he did his best to cover everything up. The Amora said, this person is not considered Mechalel Shabbos for Hesya, because if he's embarrassed about what he's doing, so that's already not a Mechalel Shabbos for Hesya. Question is, if we could consider Jews that come to Shavuos night and in front of us, they're not going to be Mechalel Shabbos. So they're showing that respect. They're showing that first stage of the tshuva that Rav Kook speaks about. The first stage is to have the basic respect. That at this point, they're showing that. If they're showing that, so they may not have a din of Mechalel Shabbos Parasya. And when it comes to cooking for a person that's Mechal Shabbos Faresya or Yain Nesech, or when it comes to using their wine. So here, I would say this is something that obviously you need big poskim to back this, and it's not agreed upon by the poskim. Therefore, I'm just suggesting it, and it has to be approved that we can differentiate between two cases. If the guys, let's talk about our Hesder boys in Sderot. They have a lot of secular friends that are Mechalei Shabbat Befaresya. And if they go out for a night to drink, and they go out to a bar, and they drink wine together, so it would seem that that's what Chazal are saying, don't do it. This guy is Mechalei Shabbat Faresya. Don't drink with him. And don't use all the kulos that we have. But if they're making Kiddush Friday night in a big army base, and at this point he's not Mechalei Shabbat Faresya, he's making Kiddush with this wine, and the wine is pasteurized, and they all the other kulot that could be, if it especially if it be evident and it could cause arguments, then it would seem very very simple to be maker. And the same thing when it comes to cooking for a secular Jew on Yom Tov. So it's not simple at all. The Mishnah Berurah says not to. Mishnah Berurah says not even to invite. And Tzitz Eliezer is makel to invite, because he brings a Rashba that says that the real chashash was that they would cook food that's not kosher, and that was for a guy or even for a mumar. But here, that chashash goes down. So Mishnah Berurah doesn't. But even Tzitz Eliezer says not to cook food for Mechal Shabbos Faresya. So obviously, it would be. It seems to be some knas and some way of showing that we're not accepting it as a society, and that we're not going to get used to it, and that it means that, and that it's a red line, it's a knas that we're not willing to give up. Obviously, when they're if it's a family member, there are a lot of heterim. If he invited himself, there are many heterim. If it could cause bigger arguments, there are many heterim. But l'chatchila, a person should try to cook beforehand. I don't know if people in America are going to be seeing this. I feel, especially as a citizen of Sderot, that we received so much from so many communities in America, and so many years. I remember going to a house it was in New Jersey, and in the middle of Shalosh Shudas, we were reading Sudash Lishit. I heard Tseva Adom in New Jersey, red alert, the red color alert. I said, "What's this?" So he didn't want to worry me. He didn't want me, because he thought, I have family in Sderot, so maybe I get. He said they have a custom in their house that whenever there's a red alert in Israel, they have it in their home, so that they should feel what we're going through in Sderot. That's something awesome, and that shows and many other families that didn't have that showed us in so many ways their love, their support, their connection to Sderot, their belief in Sderot, their respect to and real genuine concern and love. So it's something that we never should take for granted. We didn't, because there was special generosity, special kavod for Eretz Yisrael, and I felt it many, many, many years. And even without that, it's our tremendous responsibility to feel everything you guys are going through. And we felt it, unfortunately, very close in our personal family. My first cousin, Rabbi Zalman Hillel Fendel in Lakewood, unfortunately died from corona. His first cousin did, and his 3 people from one grandfather. So we could feel very strongly what a lot of people are going through. And it's our responsibility to make sure that in our yeshiva on Shavuos, which we have, the guys are learning what we call kapsulot. That means they're little groups of 26. It's a sight to see our base medrash. It's divided up with nylon, and it's divided up into little units. So I'm going to make sure, Belina, that they realize the special zchut that they have to be able to learn Torah and get back to a yeshiva schedule and get back to the summer zman. At the same time, to respect and to daven for and to love and to be connected to all those communities in Chutz La'aretz. It's a tremendous opportunity to show that we're all one. We're all together. We're all in the same boat. And it would be great if this could be, and obviously I'm just inviting, that if it could, I'm even inviting, and this may seem strange to some people, we have a building project in Sderot, and for not so expensive. And it's very close to the yeshiva, very close to a beautiful park, very close to the whole religious Zionist community, very close to a lot of beautiful Jews in Sderot. And today, Sderot is getting safer, obviously protected buildings. People weren't hurt in almost the past decade in Sderot. And we're really beginning a whole new project of building that if rabbis would like to present it to their communities, or individuals would like to hear more details, we're here. We think it could be something, a tremendous revenge for our enemies, for our neighbors over here, the Chassam and the Hamas and the Azatim. That not only aren't we running away, American Jewry is beginning to join us, and we're becoming stronger, and we're flourishing, building, growing, and I think it's a good investment. A few years ago, I told some people to invest in real estate in Sderot, and they said, "You want to give a shiur? You could give a shiur, but don't teach us real estate." But they were wrong, because real estate almost quadrupled in Sderot, and we think it's still climbing higher, and it could be a good investment and a great place to live, and perhaps something that could interest some people out there. And at first, they wrote America. Maybe that dream could come true, and we think we have a beautiful pieces of land to offer right now. It's a group, and at group rates with group help, etc. We will end with the haftarah that we read last week, that Am Yisrael is like Chol Hayam, but at the same time the Torah says that we're like Kochavim. So which one? Vayam mispar b'nei Yisrael kechol hayam, asher lo yisafer. Do we have a number or not? So basically, Am Yisrael, we're all individuals, and each one is like a star, and each house and each community is to itself something that could shine, and that has to be kept and developed like a world unto itself. And at the same time, we're all together, and our real worth is only when, just like a little speck of sand is meaningless if it's alone, our real worth is only when we're together. I think Corona put us all in our homes, and we realize that that's our main responsibility, is to make our house and our family unit, and to bring us and to realize what our responsibilities are as individuals, and at the same time, we begin to feel that we're all connected and that we're all one, and that Bezrat Hashem, we'll join forces, caring about each community, and Ish Etreo Yomar Chazak, our responsibilities towards you, your affection towards us, makes us one, and brings us closer together, and Bezrat Hashem, that will be Ki'ir Shechubra La Yachtav, that everybody in its place. We're all not able to go to Yerushalayim, just like you guys in America can't. We're in Sderot, but together we'll move that much closer to building the Mikdash. Yehuda Glick once said that if someone would have said 15 years before the state of Israel was created that it's going to happen, they would say impossible. But it's more realistic to say today that in 15 years from now the Mikdash will be built than it was 15 years before the state of Israel. So that's the dualism of Yom Ha'atzmaut and Yom Yerushalayim. When will Yerushalayim be rebuilt? Bizman she'nitchei Yisrael yichanes yishar koach. We hope that we can visit you and you'll be able to visit us, and that HaKadosh Baruch Hu should bring mazor and refuah shlema and a Yeshua to all of Am Yisrael wherever we are. Yishar koach.
Thank you, Reb Fendel, for wonderful thoughts and encouragement. And anyone who is interested in what Reb Fendel said about the community, you can be in touch with me and I will refer you on. Thank you, and everyone should have a Yom Yerushalayim Sameach and Chag Shavuos Sameach and Refuah Shlema and good health, and for Kol B'nai Yisrael and for the whole world. Thank you, Reb Fendel, for a wonderful share.
Yishar koach.